King of Glory by Kristen Collier, Chapter 1. Centuries passed in the blink of an eye, and the mighty king found himself in the company of a completely different set of people. Whack! Dad, watch out! Jonathan, move! The monarch watched as a dark-haired woman grabbed a small boy from behind an upturned sledgehammer. Another gray-haired man turned in surprise, tool still poised over his shoulder as he prepared to work the hole in the wall. "Honey, you can't come in here when Grandpa's working," he admonished, lowering the hammer's red metal head to the floor. "It's okay," Giselle Domingo said, softening at the hurt look in her 4-year-old son's face. "We just don't want you to get hurt." The child's face crumpled, and Giselle knelt down and he buried his head against his mother's shoulder, sobbing. She glanced at the corner television. 80,000 dead in Turkey, the Fox News reporter said, in what has been the 5th major earthquake worldwide in many months. This one registered 9.0 on the Richter scale. Experts are concerned that... Giselle took her son's hand and peered into the growing hole in the wall. "Dad, are you sure this is good for your back?" "Well, this addition certainly isn't going to get finished by itself." The EU is calling for a massive coalition of unheard proportions to aid earthquake victims. The UN is a leading task force led by Syrian... But Dad, I told you I'd help you after I get back tomorrow afternoon. If you could just wait. Jordan is joining Syria in this monumental humanitarian... "Oh, all right," the Senior Domingo grumbled, putting down his sledgehammer. "Palestinian refugees have so far suffered the brunt. Honey, Mommy has to go somewhere." In response, Israel has heightened security on the... Where are you going? I don't want you to go." "It's okay. Mommy will be home after you're in bed." "Giselle, phone! Don't go! U.S. troops on hold." Giselle rolled her eyes. "I'll be right there," she said with a sigh. The king's eyes bore into her. Giselle carefully led her son past the tarp that covered the area rug in their living room. They passed through the dining room and went into the kitchen of their century home, on one of many in Bayview, a sleepy bedroom town just west of Cleveland, Ohio. While some homeowners compensated for the small room size of the city's older homes by putting on monstrous nouveau riche additions, the Domingos were careful to maintain stylistic integrity with their building plans. Giselle picked up the phone in the cramped kitchen. "Mom, can you take Jonathan upstairs and help him find his jammies?" she asked as she cradled the receiver in her hand. "I don't want to go to bed." "No back talk," she said sternly, looking him in the eye. "Listen to your mother." The boy frowned and stomped off with his grandma in tow. Giselle watched as her faded blonde mother followed the brown-haired, doe-eyed preschooler out of the room. "He looks like a precious moment," she thought with a weary smile. "Hello?" Giselle held the receiver to her eye and listened. Her face fell. "It's not your fault," she said quietly after a few minutes. She sank into the wooden antique chair beside the phone. "If the money's not there, there's nothing you can do." She hung up and then sat for a moment, staring out the window at the newly darkened sky. The tree-shaded lots that lined the street remained unseen. "What am I going to do?" she wondered. Her heart throbbed in her chest and the light faded. The quiet neighborhood homes on Narragansett Street held no answers. Just then, Giselle squinted and her eyes flew open. The sky was orange! "Bring, bring! Bring, bring!" Do you see the sky? An excited voice chimed into the receiver. It looks like Jesus is coming back. The king chuckled. I know, Giselle said, leaning closer for a better look. I was just thinking the same thing to myself. She stared, unbelieving, out the window. Wouldn't that be awesome? Yeah! I've never seen the sky go from dark to light at nighttime, Giselle said, and I've never seen it turn orange. Me neither. Way cool. The urethra light filled the sky like a mist from another plane, and Giselle thought of the bad news she'd just received. Hope filled her heart for the first time in a long time. Wouldn't it be great if he came back right now? She asked wistfully. The king smiled. Oh man, I'm so ready, the voice from the other phone said. This world totally stinks. His face fell. Amen to that, Giselle agreed. Oh, and guess what? You are not going to believe this. I just found out I'm going to be laid off from the library. Cutbacks. Girlfriend, what are you going to do? I don't know, Giselle replied softly. I'll be over in a few. You can fill me in then. Okay, see ya. Giselle looked at the mahogany grandfather clock on the kitchen wall. Yikes! I better hurry up. She hung up the phone and peeked into the family room. Dad, look at the orange sky. Does it look like Jesus is coming back? It does look strange, the elder Domingo admitted, as he checked out the gooey contents of a jar of spackle. But he's not here, is he? The king looked at him sadly. I know, but maybe it's like a sign or something to ready us for his return, Giselle shrugged. Has to happen sometime. Turning upstairs, she glanced out the window again. The sky was dark again, as if the unearthly orange veil had somehow only been a dream. With a sigh, she walked into her bedroom and pulled on her purple pleather pants, an iridescent purple blouse with faux diamond buttons. The 34-year-old frowned at the piece of chipped paint that had fallen from the ceiling onto her ratty striped carpet. Slowly, she bent over, being careful not to rip the plastic pants, and picked up the paint chip and threw it into the circular garbage can next to her desk. How do they make silk threads change colors like this? She wondered as she buttoned the tiny buttons on the shimmering blouse that went from purple to pink with the slightest movement. After finishing out the plum lip liner on her makeup bag, she traced the outline of her full lips that made people say on more than one occasion she should be a model. The quick makeup job was finished with matching lip color, complimentary eyeshadow and blush, and a touch of mascara. Who are you? She said sadly in the mirror. The pale iceberg eyes she'd inherited from her Norwegian mother stood out like beacons in the night against the thick black hair and the rich olive skin of her father's line. Her retro ensemble called to another time, but unfortunately she didn't turn away from the mirror fast enough to avoid seeing the light flicker and die in her eyes. Mommy, Philip made fun of me because I don't have a dad. The king's eyes filled. Giselle's stomach heaved. What did you do? She asked, fighting nausea. Nothing, the 4-year-old said, tears streaming down his face. His mother kissed him on the cheek and held him tight, curling up into a fetal position against the pit of her stomach that never completely left. Her sadness turned to hatred when she felt her little one's hot cheers on her cheek. The anger at God that was always just below the surface flared. She loved him, hated him. She just wanted the pain to end. The hatred grew, flooding her soul until it became one with her, A part of her liked it because it made her feel strong, like no one could touch her. Her eyes hardened and pierced the darkness, and her mouth tightened. I hate you! How could you let him go without a father? You've provided husbands for all the other single moms I know, but not for me. It wasn't entirely true, but giving in to his will was too painful. She made the mistake of crying out to him in the past, but it never did any good. Honey, she said mechanically, while she seethed inside. Remember, God is your Father in heaven, and he loves you very much. I'm sorry. Please forgive my evil heart, she prayed, as guilt and hatred mixed like wine and vinegar. How could you have died for such a horrible person as me? I love you more than you know, the king whispered to her heart. Jonathan sniffled. But I wanted Daddy here also. At the plea, the heartbroken mother's hatred flared anew. She rapidly blinked back tears that filled her eyes so Jonathan wouldn't see them. You should think about what you want, her friend said, and not just about finding a dad for Jonathan. But who cares what I want? She wanted to scream at them. He's the only one that matters. I know you want a daddy for two, she said gently, while inside she smoldered. But remember what we do when we don't get what we want. We think about what we do have. Otherwise, we'll just be unhappy. And that's not fun now, is it, honey? Giselle, her father yelled from downstairs. Your ride is here. All right, Dad, I'm coming. She gave the distraught preschooler a kiss and a hug. Remember, your daddy in heaven loves you very much, and you can talk to him, and he wants you to talk to him. But I don't know how. Just talk to him like you're talking to one of your friends. Tell him whatever you want to. Now, Mommy has to go. Don't go, Jonathan sobbed, clinging on to her as she tried to leave. Giselle's heart plummeted. It's okay, my little honey boy, she said in a cheerful voice, while doing her best to hold back the tears. Tomorrow is Saturday. It's the weekend. So after I go see someone in the morning, we'll be able to spend the rest of the day together, she said with a sniffle and a forced grin. Who are you going to see? He whined. Oh, just an old friend Mommy hasn't seen in a while. I want to come. No, you can't. But remember, Grammy and Grandpa are taking you to Chuck E. Cheese. Yay! Giselle kissed him again and patted his head tenderly. She brushed away a tear. Now you think about how much fun that's going to be, she said, trying to gently disengage herself from his tight grasp, and also spend some time thinking about Jesus and talking to him. Giselle, her father bellowed, come on, she's waiting for you. I'm coming, Dad, just hold on, Giselle yelled, rolling her eyes. She turned back toward her son. Good night, my little honey boy. Grammy and Grandpa are downstairs if you need anything. Mommy loves you, and Jesus loves you. Good night, Mommy. I love you. Giselle walked numbly down the creaky hardwood stairs. Hurriedly passing through the dining room, she grabbed her purse from the table and happened to notice the magazine that was underneath. Camille Mueller, America's Best Chance Ever for Gold in Dressage, the caption read. A Grace Kelly look-alike smiled up at her from the cover of the April issue of Dressage Today. The stunning blonde on the magnificent chestnut stallion had a winning smile and the skills to back it up. How many covers can they put her on? What time are you leaving tomorrow? Her mother called from the family room. Giselle shook her head when she heard her mother tell her father to put the sledgehammer down. About 8:30, she replied. And Dad, I'll be home by 1. So can you please just wait until then? I promise I'll take the rest of the wall out as soon as I get home. As long as it gets done, he yelled. It will, don't worry about it. Jonathan's up in bed and I'm going now. Okay, just go out and have some fun, her mom said, entering the dining room. She picked up the magazine and looked at the smiling equestrian on the cover. Boy, who'd have ever thought she'd go so far? Make sure and tell her how excited we are for her, and proud too. Giselle's smile froze. But her mother was still looking at the picture, so she didn't notice. Suddenly, she wanted to grab the magazine out of her hands and rip it into shreds. Just think, if you would have stuck with it, maybe you would have been headed to the Olympics too. Giselle's stomach clenched. Yeah, she responded a bit too cheerily, grabbing her keys from the kitchen table. Okay, I'll see you later. Have fun. Blinking back tears that made it hard to see, she clasped the doorknob and opened the back door. The king's eyes followed her sadly. I make all things new, the king whispered to her heart.